Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. This is an incredibly special moment in YouTube tech YouTube history. I'm joined by one of my best YouTube friends, Drew from Tailosive Tech, and this collaboration is a very long time coming. It's something that I think we initially tried to do back in April. It
Oh
got a little
yeah,
complicated, a little complicated,
very
but we he just had me on his channel recently, and I of course had to do the same to have him back here. So Andrew, what's
yeah.
up?
It's going good. It's been fun. Yeah, I'm very glad we finally got this to happen. I'm excited to be on this channel finally officially live too. I'm excited to see what kind of questions you got for me, what kind of questions the audience has for us, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course, of course. All right. So the first question that I was thinking of, because I was like, okay, Tailosive Tech, where does the name come from? Because my name
Okay.
just came up because I couldn't come up with anything else. But Tailosive Tech,
Yeah.
super interesting name. I'd love to hear the story behind it.
Okay, so like it's really not that different from person to person, right? It's like, well, I guess it sounded good. So but for me, anyways, I was like young before I was into technology at all. I was like into fighter jets and like I wanted to be a pilot when I grew up. And I
No
would just
way.
draw planes and rockets and stuff in just my spare time. But I was always kind of annoyed that like planes and jets were called just boring names like F-22, F-35, B-52. I was like, what if we just gave them an actual name, just like a person? So my probably 7-year-old mind was like tail of a plane, because you know
Okay.
that's the back of the plane, and explosive because a missile blows up. So I was like Tailosive. That's what no one's thought of, right? Like because we had a YouTube channel before Tailosive came about. It was such a generic name. I don't even want to tell anyone what the name is because they'll come and find it. But it was such a generic name that like just if you searched our username, you would get like 80 different channels. It was so
Oh,
bleh, it was generic. So we were like, well, if we use this name we've never thought of before, then if someone searches it, we'll be the only result. It'll be easy. It'll be easier to find us. So yeah, just kind of stuck, and so far it's been going well.
that's
And
so
yeah,
interesting.
a 7-year-old idea of a word that kind of stuck around and now is turning into a brand. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's so awesome. My next question was like, the name is it's not like directly tied to Apple really, but Apple's obviously what you
No.
talk about the most on your channel, and
Right.
that's your whole brand. So do you have
Yeah.
plans to expand to other things in the future? Are you gonna still stick mainly to Apple while mildly branching out to like Google, Samsung, and everybody else in
Yeah.
between?
Right. Well, like the idea with not calling myself the Apple sheep, even though like if you YouTube search that, that's what shows up anyway. So it's like even if we changed it, it wouldn't change much. But the idea was like as much as I love Apple, as much as I prefer Apple opposed to anything else, I constantly want to keep in mind that they might not always be the best. So if the day may come where a different company takes them over as best, or I think they're better, then I don't want my channel to be tied to that brand if they turn out to not be good, because I don't think they're going to be. As much as I love them, I don't think they're going to be the best tech company, in my opinion, forever. I think all
No.
companies fail, all companies get replaced. So that's why I was like, nah, don't pick something that's so exclusively Apple that no matter what you can't defend them, because there's plenty of times in which I can't defend them. It happens all the time.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I'll give everybody a preview here. For the first time I've ever talked about it, there may be a name change coming to my channel soon.
Oh, dope.
Just
Okay.
very subtle. Like the core of it's gonna stay the same, but I kind of had the same thinking. Like iupdateos, it's tied sort of to iOS and to Apple, and
Yeah,
it's not like I'm
right.
ever gonna go away from doing that. Just like you mentioned, like as long as it's popular,
Sure.
as long as it's something that you care about, you're never gonna
Right.
change it. But definitely like looking forward long term. That once again, like the name. Sometimes I make names and I was like 13 or something at the time, and I was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like, oh, this sounds cool, but we'll see. I'll have to
I
let
think
you know
my
in the future.
email, yeah, I think my email to this day is still like Mac Kid or something. It's like
Yeah, I saw
something
that. When I
when
sent
you're
my
like,
audio to you, it was like Mac Kid, and I was like, what is this?
it shows you like how long I've not changed anything. And yeah, for a long time before we started doing like the Tailosive network, the whole branch of channels, and it was just Tailosive, views were dead. You know, no one watched our stuff. And the only real reason we started making the other channels was because it was like, well, no one's looking up the word Tailosive. It's so unique, no one cares. like no one's stumbling onto Tailosive. So we had to start making stuff that people might actually be looking for. So that's when it was like, I care about tech stuff, so maybe I'll try tech stuff. And that obviously did really well.
Yeah, obviously, dude. You're almost at 100,000 subscribers.
You do. You're
Am
close.
I?
Closer than
I
I
haven't
am.
checked. I haven't checked in 4 years. You know, it just kind of happens.
You're less than 1,000 away. You're so close.
Yeah, dude, it's
I'm
insane.
so happy for you.
Thank you. I'm happy for you as well. So, what is 100,000? I'll share my thoughts on that in a little bit. What are your thoughts and feelings? Because that's a huge milestone. That's a place that most YouTubers never get to.
That's true, and it's a really surreal moment for me because I've been watching YouTube ever since I was like a cringy 8-year-old. Now I'm a cringy 20-year-old, and still find. I was watching YouTube channels. My favorite of all time hit 100K, and I was like, wow. My favorite YouTube channel, they made it in the big leagues. Now they hit 100K, and to finally get that to here, it's like, is it really? Is this happening? Is this actually happening? So that's my thought process now on like 1 million. Is it's like I see my favorite YouTube channels crossing 1 million and going, wow, that's insane. But this 100K was insane not too long ago. So the fact that we're just now hitting that is crazy. We do a special video every time we add a digit. So it's very rare that we make like a special video and do something special on our channel. But there is something special happening over on Tailosive Tech when we do hit 100K. And I'm excited to hear your rebrand too. You get me all pumped up for it.
Oh my gosh. I can't wait. I'm so excited for it. It's like, it's one of those goals that when you start out on YouTube, you never, like, as much as you believe that, like, oh, I'm going to hit 1 million in 2 days, or I'm going to get that 1 million view video instantly.
Right.
Like, it doesn't really happen. Like, to this day, I'm not sure what your highest viewed video is, but I think my highest is like 500,000. Which is like good. Yeah, it's good, but like it's still not the million. And I remember back when YouTube started, because it was harder and easier, I think, back in the day, because there was less competition, but also not as many people were watching. So like now we have that flip where the entire world is on YouTube, but there's also I see a new tech channel every day that I've never heard about that's making great videos.
There's so many.
I'm just like, I don't know that these people exist, and they're only like 10,000 subscribers less than me, or 20,000, and it's crazy like how news comes out as you just publish your USB-C on the iPhone video, and everybody has a different take on it.
Right. It all happens at the same time. It's also harder now because back when I started my YouTube channel, getting monetized was like the easiest thing ever. It was like clicking a button, and it was like, all right, you set up a AdSense account, you're all good. Now it's near impossible. It's like they keep like dangling the carrot further and further and further, which is hard. So I'm just like, man, it's like you said, there's more resources now. There's more opportunities and technology that's more affordable that a lot of people didn't have at the beginning. So yeah, very well said. It's easier and harder at the same time. It's tricky.
Yeah, it really is. I want to hear about your USB-C on the iPhone story, because I recently made a video. I can't wait for it to happen. I hope it's true.
Right.
USB-C in 2019? Confirmed?
Let me be very, very clear. I'm with you. I want it to happen. I'm sporting the USB support here, okay?
Yes, I see it.
Do I think it will happen? No. I don't think Apple will make that step, because I think they're too busy with the complaints about notches, prices, Touch ID, Face ID. They're all focused on that, and they're really just tired of like the port argument. And they know that when they switch to a different port, they're just going to get a whole nother outcry from a certain part of their audience that says, "What? I can't use my old chargers and accessories anymore." And switching away from Lightning is not just an iPhone decision; it's a Magic Keyboard decision, it's a Magic Mouse decision, Apple TV decision, AirPods decision. And I think they're just too far into it, that at this point, if they switch to USB-C on the iPhone, it's just going to clutter and complicate the lineup even more. That I see Apple's side of it, and I can see their reasoning, but personally, I still think they should just do it. I don't even care. I wish they would just commit and be like, you know what, this is better. This is the last port. This is the new standard. Ship your phones with USB-C to USB-C cables, please. Not old cables that can't plug into new MacBooks and stuff like that. It's ridiculous. A lot of people think I defend Apple no matter what, especially with this last video. I'm ripping them a new one. I'm
Yeah.
pretty upset with the way it is right now.
Yeah, very fair. I'm with you. I want to see it, but and as much I really hope I'm with you. Like I hope the rumor's true because it's so inconvenient to have a lightning port on my keyboard and on my
Yeah,
iPhone, but then my MacBook only has USB-C, and
right?
then my iMac Pro has USB-C and USB-A, but no Lightning. And it's just weird. It's definitely, I feel like we're in a transition point right now, even though we're not really in one, but it's definitely
Right.
weird. And like, I know to this day, like, you cannot plug in, this is what blows my mind the most. You can't plug in an iPhone that you unbox into a
Right.
MacBook without buying an adapter.
You can't. You
Yeah.
need to buy something, which is
Like,
ridiculous.
it is ridiculous.
Yeah. It brings up another point that I think about too, because I try to look at things from both angles. And one thing I think about is like, the MacBook is all in on USB-C, but it's all Thunderbolt 3, right? And those are like powerful ports that can transfer a lot of data. And Thunderbolt 3 is not the same technology they put on mobile phones, like on even on your S9s and your Pixels. I don't believe the USB-C port is that powerful. It's a more toned down version of USB-C that can just support the charging, maybe some light data transfer, and that's it. So is the confusion between like we don't want to make USB-C cables unless they're Thunderbolt 3 supported, and that's why they cost so much? In which case, this effort to like make one port for everything actually has made it more complicated because now there's like 5 different versions of the same port. So it's
Yeah.
like, how do they handle this?
Yeah,
How do they?
no, it is. It's tricky, and like I could just see the public outcry. Like I just see that like generic Twitter account, like
Mhm.
teen tweets would be like, "You have to get rid of all your accessories for iPhone 7 and above," and everybody's gonna be like,
Right,
"Oh my God, Apple's the worst!" Like I remember when
right.
they switched from Lightning, people were going insane.
That
They
was a
were just
big,
like, Apple's the worst. They're gonna tear me. They all they care about is money. And it's like, listen, like
right,
every 5 or so years, you gotta switch until the new version comes out. That's how
right.
technology works. Like this is why we're getting
Mhm.
rid of the headphone jack because there's functionally a better way to listen to music in 2018 than there was in 1970.
And they even dug this pit further down by shipping all the iPhones with Lightning earpods. Now,
Mhm.
all of those would be useless if they switched to USB-C. So it's just like, do they include USB-C headphones now? Like,
Yeah,
it's
I
this.
don't know. I guess they'd have to, right?
They'd have to, unless they like either do one terrible idea, not include headphones with the purchase. I would hate that,
That would be
or
bad. People
go
would go crazy.
make them cost way more and include AirPods with the purchase, which would be kind of cool but very expensive.
Yeah. Gosh, that would be so cool. I mean, people would talk about the total opposite. People would go crazy if Apple had AirPods because that'd be such a great thing.
Yeah, I'm in the boat. A lot of people disagree with me on this. I'm actually curious what your thoughts are, but I personally think a lot of people disliked the iPhone 10 because it was $1,000 phone, but it included slow charger, Lightning ear pods that don't work on anything. I think they would have been better off making the iPhone 10 cost even more, like more towards 1100, 1200, but just make it like the best package ever. Like you get AirPods, you get a fast charger, USB-C to Lightning, then it can plug directly into your MacBook. Maybe even throw in a Qi charger of sorts. Like instead, make it more money than it already is, but it really worth it. Like you're getting a
Yeah.
big stuff. That's what I would have liked to see.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. I mean, if you go up in price any more than the iPhone 10, which is 1,000, people are just gonna go crazy. But it does feel
Yeah,
like Apple shipped this super premium phone with
mhm,
totally non-premium, like
exactly.
baseline cheap accessories. Because like the power brick is still 5 watts. I think it hasn't it been like that since the original iPhone.
Yeah, like they've never changed it in 10 years. It's always
Until
been.
we're hearing
You
this year it could possibly get better.
hope so. They said the same thing last year. That's why I'm always like, I don't know.
Yeah, I know,
I,
right? It's like you get your hopes up and then it never happens.
right, right. So that's why I'm telling people keep the hopes down because if USB-C on the iPhone did happen, I'd be like, thank you. A lot of
Yes.
people would be upset, but I'm okay with it. I can
Yeah.
adapt. I can I can buy new cables. It's not that hard.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel the exact same
So
way. But a lot of people, like the
cool.
general populace, they do not like new ports at all.
They don't like change. Yeah.
No.
They don't.
Yeah.
They have to buy new things. They want new things, but they don't want to change the way they do anything. That
Yeah,
was kind of
it's
my
interesting.
biggest complaint with the new MacBooks. Is people are like, "Oh, I don't want these new ports," or I don't like the Touch Bar. It's like, what do you want? Because like they still sell the 2015 MacBook. It's like,
Yeah.
did they just make faster and nothing else? That's it. I don't know. I don't know what
Yeah.
they want.
That's
Could never
yeah,
play.
you can't. And then you'll always get those comments from people that are like, Apple is dying, the company's going terribly, like get Tim Cook out of there. It's just
Right,
like, all right, everybody relax, it's gonna be all right. Change is okay.
right. You don't have to buy these
Speaking,
things.
yeah. I was gonna say, speaking of change, I wanna
Yeah.
pivot to college, because this is something that
Oh,
we
okay.
talked about on, I think, our first ever like time we spoke, the one that didn't
Yeah.
end up getting recorded, which is a story for another day. On you can listen to it on Drew's podcast. But
Yeah.
you are not in college, correct?
No, I've been out for
Okay.
2 years now. Two
Oh my
years.
gosh, that's crazy. So did you? How long did you go before you decided to switch to YouTube?
So, in all honesty, my last year of high school was at college. I did 3 years of high school, and then I did a college
Oh
connection
wow.
program where I for free you got to go to a community college, not a big one, but just a college for your senior year. You just had to finish out your units. And
Hmm.
the idea of that program was just to give you a taste of what it's like, because you can still sign up for college classes, all those electives you want. You get the college atmosphere. You are enrolled as a college student, but you're also just slightly enrolled as a high school student at the same time. So the
Okay.
reason I wanted to do that was I just hated high school. I found the whole thing useless. I was like, I'm not learning anything. And people kept telling me, well, when you get to college, like you get more hands-on. You get to choose the classes you want. There's more freedom. They don't take roll.
Mm.
They don't have all these restrictions. So I finally get to college, and they do take roll. By the way, that was the biggest lie. They always check,
Yeah.
and the same problem started showing up, because I was like, oh great, now I can take the classes that I'm interested in. So let's take like film production, let's take web design, let's take business, because that's what I'm interested in. And
Mhm.
all of these classes turned into just like fill out the worksheet and show up on time and check the right boxes and read this chapter. And if you don't read this chapter, and I didn't feel like I was learning anything. I had already made my website before going into web design, and this web design class was actually lesser of web, like lower class web design than I had done on my own. Film
Yeah.
class, I ended up teaching the teacher how to do certain things in Adobe Premiere. At the time, I was all about Premiere, and he was teaching it, so it was like the worst possible place for me. And we were looking at me and my family, because like basically my two older sisters went to college, and I'm the youngest in the family, so it was assumed that I would follow in their footsteps and also go to college. So we were looking around at prices and tuition, and I was just like, you know, this is like probably going to be like the second most expensive thing in my life, other than like a house. Like,
Yeah.
we shouldn't really invest so much money into this unless I'm absolutely sure I want to do it. And I'm not sure right now. I really don't think this is a good way to go. I don't want to like spend 30 grand or 40 grand a semester to find out, oh, this is all stuff I could have done myself. I know that community college is not the same thing as like a full university, but I'm just saying that's an expensive mistake. Like
Oh yeah.
my oldest sister went to film school herself, and by the time she was out of it, she really didn't make movies anymore. She just wasn't as interested in that. I was like, well, I don't want to go to college and then decide I don't want to make videos anymore. So that's when I found a job at a mandarin ranch, because we're out in a rural area out here. And I did that part-time, and then part-time YouTube, because YouTube started making a little bit of money, but definitely not enough to live off of.
Mhm.
So I worked about 5 days a week on the ranch. And whenever I would get done working at the ranch, I would come home and start working on YouTube. And I did that for a year. And then I quit my ranch job to pursue YouTube full time last June. So it's just marked 1 year of me doing YouTube full time. And since then, we've moved
Wow.
into the Oroville office, and now we moved up to the Chico office. And it's been great so far. And I'm never swearing off college entirely, but so far I haven't needed it. So I'm going to keep going as long as I can without it, because I kind of like working for myself. It's fun.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I feel that so much. Like I'm enjoying summer more than this summer.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm enjoying more than any summer that I've
yeah,
enjoyed before because
mine
the
too.
last sophomore year was just like it was the hardest year of my life. It's probably second hardest year of my life. Like
Sorry.
classes actually got hard. I
Yeah,
was an RA and like my floor was just like stereotypical like historically troubled floor. Like every day there was some random issue or they were problematic. And it was just like every day I had to be like, hey guys, it's quiet hours. Hey guys. And
yeah,
like, it's so weird because I never, like I mentioned it a couple times on YouTube, but like
yeah.
nobody really calculates like how taxing it is to be like, okay, I wake up every day at 10 a.m. I go to class from 10 to 11. Then
Right,
at 11 to 12, I work out. Then I eat lunch from 12 to 1. Then from 1 to 3 before my next class, I make a YouTube video. Then from 3 to
right.
4:15, I'm in class. And then I have to go to this meeting at 5 p.m. And then I eat, like, it's just
No freedom.
nonstop.
Yeah,
And I got to a point where it was just like every single day for like 3 weeks was nonstop like that. Like not exaggerating, just constant. And I was like, this is not fun. Like this is not what like the best years of your life should feel like, even though you
right.
are working on a degree or are accomplishing something. But
Yeah,
for now, like still sticking it out. I'm still like I'm still able to do YouTube and college at the same time, but like it has taken so many conversations with other people to convince me to stay. Like conversations with professors, conversations with parents, because it's so tempting. Like when you have this platform that like is generating revenue, and you see
right.
it coming in, you're
It's
like, man, I don't know, is school even important? And like it's so hard to stay, but like I really respect your decision. Like obviously it's working out super well because you're almost at 100K and you're making money and you're loving it. And I think that's important at the end of the day, is like you have to just find what you really enjoy doing, which
right.
rather than just like, oh, you're supposed to do this, so go ahead and do it.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's a lot of what was happening with my life because that was a very difficult decision to make given everyone else I knew, all my friends, all my closest friends and family I knew were all looking at colleges, they were all applying and I was just like I don't feel like this is right. I don't feel like this is the right move. I feel like I'm going to spend a bunch of money but ultimately just complain about it and want to do something else. And I completely understand your opinion as well because there's a lot less security with the decision I made of like
Yeah.
making all these investments and all these big jumps in expenses because we don't know exactly if it's going to work out. We don't have a fixed income. Like
Exactly.
YouTubers, we could make a bunch this month and nothing next month. And
Yeah.
to try to have bills that you pay and expenses to pay for and not know if you can have this job in 30 days, like that's extremely extremely difficult. So I completely understand people like not wanting to make that choice, and I can't fault you for it. I understand it's a sketchy road to go down, and my approach to that has always been consider failure always possible. You need to always be ready to pack all this up, sell it all, get rid of it all in an instant if we need to. Like
Hmm.
I'm always considering that possible. So I'm just like, this could go horribly wrong, but I'd like to try first. And
Yeah.
if I do try and it goes horribly wrong and I give it my best, then I'll know that wasn't an option rather than going the other way and realizing that what could it have been? I just didn't want
Yeah.
to deal with it. So it's still dangerous. I could still crash next month and, and back everything up. We don't know. But yeah, I wish all the best to you. I hope summer goes well. You get some more freedom for yourself and you get to self manage and self employ, which is cool.
Yeah. Thank you. You hit
There's a
it.
lot
Yeah,
of,
you hit the nail on the head there when you were talking about like the income going up and down, and like I
yeah,
totally feel you. Like some months it's like, wow, this is the YouTube money they talk about, and then other months
right.
it's like, all right, we're doing the wheat bread because it's cheaper.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, I completely understand both ways. So
Yeah.
I hope all the best for you. I hope the views keep going. It looks like they keep going up from my point of view. So I don't see why you can't pursue it yourself. I think you're extremely self motivated and you've clearly got what it takes. So I'm excited to
Thanks.
see how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's so cool, and I think it's especially cool that like we're both like around the same size. Like it's not like one of us is 40K or 50K above the other. Like we're both going through the
Right.
same things, and like we're doing the same news, and like we're not doing the same videos though. Like I'll do like an iPhone rumors video in a totally different way than you do, and I think that's
Right.
what's so appealing about like just YouTube in general, because you can find that perspective that you're looking for. Like someone has
Right.
that perspective on the iPhone that either you want to hear or you gravitate to, or the complete opposite opinion that you're going to get angry about and write that comment about, like this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And it's so cool that like even though we have like similar channel sizes, I feel like our fan bases are similar but also different in a lot
Right.
of ways, which is super cool.
Like I said in the podcast, it's almost like we could have a perfect Venn diagram, because it's like, you know, if Apple does this, we will talk about it, but we'll talk about it in different ways. And I think you're really, really good at highlighting the software side of things and all the changes and all the comparisons. And I'm handling a lot of the like potential hardware, how Apple could do things, which is interesting for both our audiences. But luckily, we're both able to upload things pretty regularly and usually keep both parties interested, which is impressive. I didn't have
Yeah.
that growing.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Like everything's just so different because I only started watching YouTube when I was like 13 or 14, and even then like
Right.
just like the vast majority of information that we have access to or that like we can put out is just it's insane. Like no one had
Right.
this 50 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, it's impressive. And like when I was growing up, watching YouTube videos, it was like if you found a channel, they uploaded like twice a week, and now I like this community of not small but pretty big channels that upload fairly regularly, keeping things quick to the point, get your information and get out. And I think everyone on the platform is improving in that way. Just say what you need to say, move on.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. All right, you want to switch over to chat now and answer some
Okay.
questions?
I'm sure the chat's wanting some attention too.
Yes, I'm sorry. I do have to give one shout out. I saw, I think, one super chat from All I Talk is Tech. He said 199. Thank you so much. Here for hitting 100K. So shout out to him or them, I should say. And then I believe that's the only super chat that I needed to talk about. Oh wait, there were two from All I Talk is Tech. The other one says,
Thank-
"Love your videos. You guys inspire me to make my own." Fantastic. Good luck with you too.
Cool. Growing it up. Awesome. So if you guys have like questions in the chat, you feel free to ask away. Have you like? I forgot to ask. I apologize. Do you still have WatchOS 5 on your watch? Or did you not mess with that?
No, I'm on WatchOS 4. I'm scared.
That's understandable. You see, like the different approaches we have towards things. You know, it's like that could go really wrong, so I don't want to do it. And I'm like, that could go really wrong, but whatever. I'll just do it. Yes,
Yeah,
I
no,
can. Ask.
Yeah. Did you update like to like the new seed that they released?
Basically, as soon as WatchOS 5 was available after the keynote, we got that one. So I
Okay.
I don't know if there was a new one that's been out already, but basically,
I
from
saw
what
that they recalled it.
right, they turned that one down. Basically, it was bricking watches if like you couldn't get past the boot up. So I've gotten past the boot up, so I'm in the safe zone as of now. Like it doesn't brick after you've installed it, but
Okay.
we didn't know about the bricking when we first got it, so we were just like, it's time to download it. Here
Yeah,
we go.
let's go.
We found out afterwards that it could have been bad, but we were like, it's too late now. So yeah, that's where I stand.
No, that's totally a good move. Like the features are probably worth it. I'm scared that my child will die.
I don't blame you. Like the WatchOS 5 feed, they're cool, but I could live without them for sure. Like Walkie Talkie's not even ready yet. The app's there, but it just says coming soon. That's all it says. Like I don't know if
Dang.
you could see it. It's just like not out
Yeah.
yet. But probably the most noticeable change with WatchOS 5 is that when I start walking, it'll automatically be like, "Do you want to start a workout?" And I can just hit start, and then when I stop, it's like time to finish. That saves so much time. That's probably the biggest change so
That's
far.
super cool because I cannot like there's so many times that I've just done a workout and it either hasn't picked it up or like I've just forgotten to start it. And I'm like, no.
Yeah. Right. Like I'm just working out for myself. I need it to be
what? Yeah. Why would I ever work out just to better myself? Gosh.
not why we work out. There's no.
Shout out to Viper in the chat. He says, "What's up, people? Love this collab. Thank you for the super chat."
Yeah, I love Viper. I was just watching his stream.
Sweet. Let's see. We got. When do you think iOS 12 Beta 2 will be out? Thoughts?
Shouldn't it be soon?
I think it should be. Yeah, this coming week.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Usually, like especially with iOS 11, there were betas. Like it felt like every Friday there was a different beta.
Yeah.
So I assume maybe this one's been more stable, so there might not be as many. I don't know if we'll get to 12.4 this year. Maybe there just won't be that.
Who knows?
But yeah, I think beta 2 should be next couple weeks, if per usual. But I don't have leaks or anything. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah, right. I mean, I wish. Like, I'm always waiting for that day till a source just like slides into the DMs and is like, "Here's the new iPhone." And I'm like,
yeah,
sweet, thanks.
Comments from people that are like treating you like you've got some kind of foot in the door at Apple, or like your customer support people are like, "So when's AirPower coming out?" And you're like, "How would I know? I don't know. Hopefully soon." Like,
yeah.
That's big.
Yeah, I
like,
think people think like Apple talks to us and they're like, "Yo, Tailosive,
right.
like AirPower, May 1st, May 1st."
Yeah, but don't tell anyone. We're telling the
Yeah.
press. We don't want the press to tell anyone. That's the funniest thing about the mindset to me.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
well, Apple told me, but I can't talk about it.
Yeah. Me and Tailosive know when AirPower is coming. We have it. We can't talk about it.
Right.
I wish I could actually say that unironically.
Yeah. If they did, I'd be happy, but no.
Yeah.
They did.
We got another super chat from Apple Juice. Thank you for that. iOS 12, make the iPad Pro more of a laptop replacement.
Like they're getting closer and closer. Now it feels like they're wanting to make it a bigger iPhone 10 with iOS 12 with the gesture controls and stuff. But like, is it really the hardware that's preventing it from being a laptop replacement, or is it more just like the Pro apps that aren't there? Like,
I think it's the Pro apps.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, I think if they started moving things like Final Cut or Final Cut to the iPad, people would be like, "Oh, great, this is a laptop replacement." So, yeah, I think there's obviously going to be this barrier between what a touch interface can do and what a mouse can do. And I'm not even sure if there's even a way to surpass that with a touch interface. Maybe there is, but even with a stylus, I feel like doesn't quite get you the preciseness of what a mouse can get you.
Yeah, I agree. There's something that I really enjoy about both. Like, Apple definitely made the right choice, like no stylus on the iPhone because it feels excessive.
Right.
But I do really enjoy touching sometimes. But then again, when I'm on my iMac, like right now, I wouldn't want to be like tapping and touching things just because that's unnatural when it's like facing you like this. You don't want to touch screens like that. It's weird.
Right. Have you ever experimented with because I think Microsoft has had, I don't think the better choice, but an interesting choice of saying like, well, we want touch interface laptops and tablets. So they have kind of hybrids of everything. So their approach to the desktop with the Surface Studio is like, well, you don't want to reach up and touch it, but you can lower it down to the ground and then touch with it that way. Like, have you ever messed around with the Surface Studio?
I have not. It looks beautiful. It's a beautiful machine.
Yeah,
but I have not actually used it.
I've only messed around with one at Best Buy. I've thought about buying one, not to keep, but just to review and then just returning it afterwards. But like, I can't after thinking like, well, first of all, I don't draw, so that crosses out like 90% what that's for. Like, and am I gonna edit videos and just drop the whole thing down?
Yeah, right. Like I'm editing right now, like a wizard.
Yeah, exactly. I can't think of a use for it, but I just thought it was interesting that Microsoft's approach. Well, we can turn the touch interface downward, and Apple's just like, no, leave it there, don't touch it.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a weird implementation. I'm very happy that Apple is stuck to like the majority, like mouse on desktop and then touchscreen on mobile, because the blending of both, it feels a little cheesy and gimmicky a lot of the time.
Right. It's like it's what do they say? Jack of all trades and master of none. Like it can do everything, but it's not great at anything.
Yeah,
that's
I agree.
Kind of how I felt when I reviewed the Surface Pro and the Surface Book.
Yeah. All right. Here's another question from Photo Mojo Ryzen. Love the name. Sam, are you still sweet on iOS 12? I am still on iOS 12. I really like it. I want to say
Good.
Drew's on iOS 12 as well, right?
Absolutely. We don't have an iOS 11 device. We
Oh my, that's a big step. I don't know if we're
that's
ready. I don't know if we're there yet.
like we just returned the iPod Touch I did a video on. We put iOS 12 on it, and then we didn't even put iOS 11 back on. We just handed it back to Apple. They were like, okay.
Oh, they're in for
I
a
don't know.
treat.
They can figure it out. They know how to
Yeah.
fit. I don't
They're
have to
Apple.
kind of things.
Yeah. So what is your favorite iOS 12 feature? This is a good conversation.
I think the most noticeable one is still group notifications. That's something that just like wasn't a
Bless
big
up,
pop.
bless up.
Right. It's about time. And a lot of the features I'm looking forward to don't really work yet. I don't know if you've tried using group FaceTime yet, but we tried it and it's definitely not ready. It's extremely buggy and it's not working yet. Which it's a beta 1, so I can't complain.
Yeah,
But
of course.
I guess they talked about it, but maybe I glossed over it. But the battery data over time, when you go into settings and you see how long your phone was on for screen time and how long it took to charge and stuff like that, I didn't realize they added that. That's something that Android's had that I've really. So I was like, oh, that's cool that they're adopting that over there. So those are probably my two biggest features. Not big ones, but I don't need iOS 12 to be massive. I just need it to be stable, focused, get everything right, and then done.
Yeah, I agree. I love group FaceTime, but like you said, it's so buggy right now. I've tried to make a
Yeah.
video on it, and like the animojis like flash glitch, and
Right.
like people don't show up, and I like once again it's a beta. I can't complain.
Right.
Like it's obviously not the release version of iOS 12, but it's a super cool feature. But I have to agree with you completely. Like if I had to pick a feature that was the most beneficial, group notifications. I did not realize how big of a problem iOS had with notifications until I got
Right.
notifications.
Right. I usually would just turn off apps that sent me a lot, but I would still run into times where people just text me like crazy. And the fact that it compiles them all together is so helpful. I like the way they do that. And I know Android's had it for years, but I don't like the way Android does it personally. It still feels cluttered and crowded and crunched down. Like all the notifications get kind of smushed to the side and in a bit. The Android always seems to be like, how much info can we stuff on the screen at once? And what I like about iOS is that the notifications are still grouped, but they're like not too much at once. It's still like up and center, and you can read the first one and you can expand it. So like it's one of those classic examples for me of like Apple's never first to anything. We never say Apple's first to something. They get it right. They wait.
Yeah, I agree
Sometimes.
completely. It's incredible.
And another thing that I don't notice on my day to day, but I think we really need to give credit towards is how helpful iOS 12 is to older iOS devices. We put it on our
Yes.
and it drastically speeds up the performance of a phone that's so old and not bent, by the way. Like, right.
Yeah, oh my gosh, the performance. Like I wish I had in my speed test that I did it on an iPhone 8 and like I noticed improvements there and I was like if I'm seeing these
Right.
improvements on the iPhone 8 from
You're
9
right.
months ago, I mean, I can only imagine on the iPhone 6, especially the iPhone 5S. Like it's like this is what should happen every year and we just haven't had it in so long or maybe even ever that now that we finally have it, I'm like, wow, like iOS was
Yeah.
actually kind of bad for a number of years.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. No, I'm glad they made that decision, and it's impressive. It makes me wonder if like, will the iPhone 10 we're using now ever get the iOS update from 6 years from now? Will it be able to support
Yeah.
it that long? Maybe it will.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be faster than it is right now. I don't know.
That would be
That's-
like that's what software should do, right? That would be so. That's
Right.
kind of what Tesla does. Is like they're always making these updates to their cars that when you buy it, you're promised certain hardware specs, but then the software unlocks more, which is an amazing concept and something that I really hope we see companies like Apple and like Google and Samsung
Right.
follow in the future.
Right. Software's supposed to make things get better over time, and I think that certain companies have gotten people into the opinion that software updates are bad. You know that you should dread updates, but they really shouldn't be that way. You know, we should really look forward to these things, and that's what I like about Apple is that WWDC every single year we can look forward to updates that everyone's gonna get, not 6%. Everyone, everyone can look forward to that. Whether you bought a phone last year, the year before that, or the year before that, or the year before that, we're all getting changes. Like even the iPod Touch now has the option to hold the space bar and use the keyboard as a trackpad. Like, that is still getting new features, which is weird to me.
It is weird because Android just doesn't exist. Like, Android phones don't get new features. Like, what you get is what you get, and if you get an update, you're lucky. And I'm not saying this from like I'm an Apple fanboy perspective. Like, after owning Android phones, it's just like the update system is beyond broken. Just totally beyond broken. And none of the companies seem to care.
That's what kind of bummed me out about Google I/O is it was like Google was like, you know, clearly from our point of view and from a developer point of view, when you have a very fragmented bunch of devices, it means that developers can't optimize things for all devices. They can really only optimize for a couple when there's so many different versions of Android. And when that happens, it's like Google didn't want to fix that problem. At Google I/O, they weren't talking about it. They were just like, we're still going to keep doing what we're doing. Just keep adding on to the Google Assistant. Keep adding on to AI. That's it. That's all you get. Like, not addressing any problems. Whereas iOS 12, while borrowing a lot of features from Android P for sure, I think the big difference that matters so much about Android fragmentation is that people are getting iOS 12. Whereas Android P, while it may have those cool features, not very many people are going to get it. So what difference does it make?
Yeah, the stats for Android N are just awful. Like, what was it, like 5% of the Android install base has Android N? Like,
and the sad thing is it's getting worse. Like, and like Apple always brings up what percentage of Android are running the latest version, and last year it was 7%. This year it's 6%. Like, it's not really increasing or getting better in any way. Whereas Apple's very, very optimized and sure about getting everyone on the latest iOS as much as possible.
Yeah, I agree completely. All right, we got another super chat. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up with these. From John Hagen. John Hagen, thank you. In your opinion, what would be, this is good. What would be one mistake by Apple to get you to switch off of the platform?
Ooh, okay. So it'd be pretty difficult, I think, to be one mistake. I feel like it would probably have to be a bunch, but maybe one giant step in that direction could be like, again, this is something Apple probably would never do, but like if they started outsourcing their software to other third parties. I think if they started putting iOS on non-Apple made devices, it would start being more inconsistent and more complicated, and people would be unsure if they would get certain updates, that it would probably fall into more of the problems Androids had. So that would be a big one. That's kind of important to me, that everything's optimized and running fine. In terms of one big mistake, I can't really think of one. Usually it's like a bunch of little mistakes that gets you to switch away from a brand. It's like things just keep stacking up. And even that, like, because Apple's not perfect. We both know that. They make mistakes all the time. But I think the reason we keep coming back to them is that we just kind of know there's not really a better. And maybe Apple doesn't even have to make a big mistake. There just has to be someone who makes something better than them in even my eyes. Right now, I don't think anyone is. But if someone were able to match all the exclusives in the ecosystem that they have, then I would be like, oh, there's really no reason for me to stick with Apple. You know, might have to just switch because someone else is better, not because anything's wrong. Just someone else outdoes them at their own game.
Yeah, I agree completely. Another question I've got to go through. My camera is flashing battery low, so if I just cut out here, hopefully I won't. But I want to get through these questions at least in case it has to end. Apple Juice asks, Drew Sam, like best, iPad Pro 10.5 or 12.9 and why? I'm going to go 10.5 because the 12.9 screen is just too big for me.
Really? Yeah, I'm like, when the new iPads come out, I'm very curious to see how they handle bezels. The reason I went 10.5 was I had a 12.9 before. I had a MacBook Pro at the time, so having a 13-inch iPad and a 15 MacBook was like redundant. It was just unnecessary. So I was like,
Mhm.
well, with an iPad, I'll get something more smaller, more compact. So also thinner bezels. So if the bezels are like even thinner on the 10.5 inch when the new ones come out, I'll probably go back to that. But also, if they're the same size bezels on the 13-inch, I don't have a MacBook anymore, so it won't be as redundant. I might go back up to 13. We'll see.
Yeah,
I,
that is true.
I
I've got
really,
that MacBook to fill that void, but if you don't, I could see
exactly.
that.
Yeah, I'm either desktop or iOS now. Like I don't have a mobile Mac OS machine anymore just because of our editing station. So yeah, I could go back to the 13-inch if I really wanted to. I think I might go back. Honestly, be cool to have the giant tablet again. They're
I
huge.
think I want to say I may have missed it. Yeah, I did miss one super chat from iTech reviewer. Ooh, I iPad Pro or MacBook Pro for a beginning YouTuber.
Hmm. Why don't you take that one first?
I MacBook Pro 100%.
Yeah.
I think the iPad's great, but you're gonna want real editing software, and like iMovie can get you some places, but although there you could argue there's more versatility for an iPad, like absolutely in my experience, MacBook Pro. It's more expensive without question, but I think
Right.
you'll be able to do so much more in the long term and
Mhm.
basically have no limits or restrictions where Apple sells the iPad as a limitless computer when really it's starting up. It's a starting up computer.
Is Memoji coming to the iPhone 10 or will it come to the iPhone 8? I think it's gonna, yeah, it's only iPhone 10 because it's the Face ID
Yeah.
sensor.
Right. It needs Face ID for it to work, despite what MKBHD may say. Those extra used.
People get really mad about that.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of confused because I was like, I mean, he wanted to dock the iPhone up. By the way, I love MKBHD. He collaborated with my channel and it was a big help, and I love talking to him. He's a great guy. But I just found it interesting that he like criticized the iPhone 10 for not bringing like Face ID to other iPhones, where he doesn't criticize Android for not bringing like the pixel bokeh effect to other Android phones. They made that exclusive to the Pixel 2, even though there was nothing hardware wise keeping it to the Pixel 2. And Apple even said there was like hardware stuff allowing Animoji to only work on the iPhone 10, whereas the Google Pixel, they could put that algorithm, the way the cameras work, they could put that on any Android phone if they wanted to, but they don't.
Yeah, no, that's true. There's definitely like there's some questions
Sorry.
sometimes. It's okay. There's some questions I ask sometimes because there's definitely like Apple and Android YouTubers that I think cover both, and then sometimes it's like, oh, Apple's doing a great job, and then other products that like the majority of people fall in love with, they just like destroy, they just tear it apart. And
Right.
I saw so many videos on the iPhone 10 that was like, bought my iPhone 10, now I'm returning it, and it's just
Right.
like, what? It's a good phone. Like the Galaxy
Yeah.
S9 is a good phone. The Pixel 2 is a good phone. Like I don't see anyone making videos like conversely about Android. Like why I'm returning my Galaxy S9 while I'm returning my
Right.
Pixel 2. Pixel 2 is trash. Like it's always iPhone is bad, Apple is bad, which is, I mean, it's because they're the biggest. Like it's because they're the number one,
Yeah,
like most hated on, the most popular. So like it makes sense. And I know
for
you've
sure.
gone through that a lot with like people picking on you for being the same
Yeah, I
way.
expect it though. Like it's not like I didn't expect this much backlash on things, but like yeah, I definitely noticed on YouTube that there was more of a predetermined anti-Apple message
Mm-hmm.
from the start, and I was like, it might just be a bit more interesting if we had more YouTubers that weren't just like, I don't like the 7. There's no headphone jack. I use the headphone jack. I don't like the new MacBook Pro. It doesn't have ports on it. And
Yeah.
like everyone says the exact same thing. I was like, maybe it'll be interesting if someone changes it up a bit and says like, well, they're a very rich, smart company. There's a reason they do these things. We can like investigate how this goes down, why they make these decisions, and why such a valuable company is still able to survive despite such negative PR. They're probably doing something right. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, let's make it interesting. Let's have a debate instead of just
Yeah.
a
This phone is bad. Don't buy this phone. That's all you need to know.
You just compare the tech specs. That's
Yeah,
it. Just
exactly,
look at the tech.
right?
Whichever one has the better tech specs. That's it. You pick that one.
I
It's that
remember
simple.
for the longest time I saw for Android, like because Android for a long time would be faster, like the actual specs inside would be better. And then
Right.
everybody was like, "Oh, you know, the Galaxy S9 is better because of the specs." And then now we're like, "Oh
Right.
yeah, but A11 Bionic chip is actually the fastest mobile processor." And people are like, "Well, it's about the experience on Android and how the things work." And you're like, "What?
So
What?"
you pick the facts that you prefer, which is why it's like for me it's silly to like act like you can be objective or act like you can be unbiased because we all just have personal preferences. And what all YouTubers really do is they pick the facts and the better points of the personal preference they have. You can argue which one comes first, whether they prefer something based on the facts. But from my experience, having watched so many large YouTube channels, even the biggest ones, they still will critique the one that's not their personal preference, praise the one that is their personal preference
Yeah.
for features they find better. So the only difference with Tailosive Tech is I'm just like, let's embrace it. Let's not try to hide it. I'm going to go with them. But I'm also going to tell you why I like them, and I'm going to try to provide reasoning for it. But yeah, like people always would argue. I remember those days too. Yeah, you're like people are always like Android's faster, CPU's better, more RAM management and stuff. And then the Apple CPUs go way faster, and they're not even close. And then everyone's like, well, that doesn't matter anymore. Who cares? It's like so now that point doesn't matter because
Yeah.
it's not on.
Right.
It can go.
And I think it's perfect because, like, with your brand, you're so open about the fact that you're like, yeah, I'm an Apple fanboy.
Right.
Where everybody else will be like, oh no, I'm not a fan person. I don't like that. I mean,
Right.
sure they're okay, but like, I'm not like, yeah, I'm an Apple fanboy too. Like, I love Apple. That's what my channel is about. So like, I usually say like, I've been using iPhone forever. Like, it's what I like. But if you like Android, that's okay. There's so many people that I hear like, if you like Android, that's cool. But if you like iPhone, like that's not okay. That's not okay.
Right.
And it's just like, what? Why does that's not relevant? Like, just let people use what they want to use and let people watch what they want to watch.
Exactly. What comes across as so insecure, especially on Twitter and online, is people who are like, I want to buy this phone because I like this phone. But not only that, I have to convince other people that I need to buy this phone. People will tag me on Twitter. They'll be like, I'm buying this phone and you can't stop me. I will buy this phone because I like it and Apple sucks. And I'm like, that's great. I'm not against that. Buy the phone you want to get. Like, there's nothing like, I'm not against you like being happy. That's not the argument. Like, my channel is just me telling you guys my experiences. In my experiences, I've had better experiences with iPhones than Androids. That may be different for you. So don't buy an iPhone. If you've had bad experiences with them, then don't buy it. I feel like it should be such a simple debate, and I feel like this side of YouTube should never be very aggressive, and yet it is.
Yeah.
It just people make it angry somehow. It's funny, like me and Front Page Tech, our audiences just hate each other, and every day me and John just agree on something else. Every single day we're like, yeah, I also agree with you, and everyone will then respond like, oh, shut up, I hate your video. It just happened today because John commented on my latest video and was like, yeah, I agree with you. And then someone from my audience started saying like, oh, you bash Apple, I hate you, John, you're terrible. And I was like, dude, shut up. So we got rid of that guy from the comments. This is stupid. We can't even agree with each other without hate now.
It's like there's definitely something that like we as humans are drawn to is like we're just like drawn to opinions that are different, and then like we feel the need to call them out a lot of the time. And like sometimes it's just as simple as being like, I'm just not going to comment on this. Like there is so much that I want to comment on from other YouTubers. When it comes to the title, when it comes to the content, like when I hear people say things wrong, and like the only time I'll comment is if I feel it's something that will actually benefit them in the long run of their channel. Like, for example, there was this guy that made a video that he leaked iOS 12. It was all fake. And he made this really convincing fake. I don't know if you saw this.
I did see that.
It looked kind of real. Yeah. and Everything Apple Pro made a video about it. And this dude like started getting thousands of views on the video. So I commented and I was like, I realized after I watched it, I was like, hey, this is not real. Because I saw Everything Apple Pro's video and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I just made a video. I just want to relax tonight. Like, how did iOS 12 look? And then I watched the video and I was like, wow, this looks official. And then I watched it again and I was like, wait a second. So I left a comment on the guy's video and I was like, hey man, just some advice. Like, in the long run, it's always better to just tell the truth. Like, don't make up leaks, don't make up rumors. It's not going to end well, just like this video did when a bigger YouTuber picked it up and accidentally talked about it, and then it made both of them look kind of bad, even though it wasn't that big of a deal. Like, both of them took the videos down. It blew over in a day, but it was just a weird situation where like somebody was just like, oh, I'm gonna see how many views I can get, and it worked for once, which is weird.
Yeah, it's a shame it goes that way. I literally, when I watched that before he took it down, he started showing the iOS 12 stuff, and I was kind of following it. I was like, okay, so they got slide over, I guess.
Yeah.
But then I noticed like the recording bar at the top, and I was like, no, how does Philip not realize this? Like, to me, it's super obvious. I was like, if I would have watched that video, no, I would not have thought the guy had iOS 12. First of all, because I don't think someone could get iOS 12 on an iPad away from Apple and then record it. I just don't think that's possible. I think they're way too locked down. But because sometimes us YouTubers will just get so obsessed with, because what we both agree on, I think, is that Philip at Everything Apple Pro is just really, really good at being first to things. Like, when a keynote's over, he is always like within minutes uploaded his video about it. So, but the problem that happens with that is sometimes, like what happened, you end up uploading something and half your audience is like, that's not real at all. What are you talking about? And it results in a bunch of people getting excited over nothing. So I'm glad we're a bit more skeptical, maybe a little more slow. There's been lots of videos I've started making and then stopped when I learned more information. But that's what happens when you rush to be first. You can get messy. I get messy. People who watch my videos know recently, they're like, there was a mistake here. There was an editing error here. Like, I'm sorry, I was rushed. I didn't know. It's like, it's just what happens when you rush content. Hopefully the audience gives you for it. So
especially when you're doing news, like what you and I do a lot. Like, it's so hard when you're making videos, because it's like, okay, I can either make less money and get less views and less subscribers if I take my time and make this beautiful video, or I can just go with the circumstances I'm dealt with and try to be first so that the most people see it and the most people are clicking my video versus others. And like you said, most of the time it works, but every once in a while, like, I'll catch myself saying something, and I'll catch myself, and what I've gotten personally good at is I'll be recording and I'll listen to myself say something, and then I'll just stop and be like, wait, I don't know that for sure. Like, why did I just say that? And I think the mistake that so many YouTubers make is, rather than just taking the 15 seconds to redo that bit, they'll just be like, hopefully it's right. Hopefully nobody will catch it. And I think that's a big mistake, because then that's when you get into shady water. Like, I cannot tell you how many times I've been in the middle of a statement and I'll literally be like, I gotta check my phone. Like, I'll just stop recording and get on my iPhone and literally Google something or reread the article, because I'm like, I don't want to be wrong. Like, I want to make sure I'm providing accurate info here. And I think you're the same way as well.
Right. Well, especially after the recent events that went on my channel, people are always like, Drew, you got this wrong. It's a terrible thing. And sometimes it's like, how far can you get a video up and then realize, like, oh, something's wrong, better just like pin a comment at the top with a disclaimer. Like, very, very last minute, or put it in the description. Actually, by the way, this part of the video is wrong, but I can't change it. It's a mess, but it's all learning. Is how we get better.
I agree. There's also this preconception that YouTubers are supposed to just be like perfect, and we're these infallible human beings.
Like, we're reading some type of different article that no one else reads, and that's why we have all this information. Like, if you really want to boil down tech YouTubers, we're kind of just like dedicated reposters. We're like, we read news articles, we formulate our own opinions on them, and then we just tell them to people. It's not like anyone, like, the difference is we have an articulate way of explaining it. We have equipment that allows us to publish it to the world. But
Mhm.
you know, we're not like we're not researching these things. We don't go over to Foxconn and see what they're working
Yeah.
on.
Oh, it'd
We're
be so
reading the same
cool.
everyone else is.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you. Let me see some other questions. Let me see. What is your least favorite iOS 12 feature from Luke Sloan?
My least favorite iOS 12 feature.
That's a hard one.
Yeah, I'd have to think. Most of it's been fine. I guess like the bugs in the beta. Um, I don't know. Has there been a change that was like, oh, I missed that from iOS 11 that I can think of?
The only thing that's
Uh,
popping in my head is whether or not memojis are good for the world or bad for the world.
yeah. No, that's true. I kind of like, not that it's something they added, but I'm kind of mad that they didn't change the volume indicator with iOS 12
Oh,
again.
yeah. Yeah.
Like that's not something they added, but it is something that's like, oh, we're gonna put up with that for another year. we're not, we're
And
not,
dark mode.
no dark mode. But I mean, like,
So sad.
that doesn't bother me too much. I
Yeah.
know everyone wanted it, but like, I feel like when Apple does add it, we'll get used to it in like a day, and then we'll be over it.
Yeah. People go insane when dark mode comes out because that's a feature that
Right.
I've seen people want for. I mean, I remember people seriously talking about it, I think back in like 2014, my second year of making videos.
Yeah, I feel like they've been asking for it forever. It's, I really want them to add it, not just because I would use it, just because people can stop asking. I'm
Yeah.
just comment.
Just make that conversation go away. Just add. Just add.
Right. Just add it, not because it's a problem, just so people stop asking for it. I want people to like think harder about what iOS can do, other than just like, what if white pixels were dark pixels? It's like,
Right.
okay, it's like one.
Yeah.
All right, you know,
Yeah. I feel you
exactly. Like
there.
while playing Default 8 while changing the volume, the screen gets covered. Like on Apple TV, the volume indicator's up in the corner. They've thought about this elsewhere, you know.
There's just we had this discussion when you had me on your channel. Like there's just
Uh-huh.
stuff at this point where it's like, why is this here? They're doing this because it's either A, a meme, or B, they're trolling us.
Mhm.
It has to be.
Like I feel like they're saving that update for later. Like, well, if we add it now, what are we going to do next year?
Yeah.
Now they always have a list of backup features for next year.
Yeah,
We'll
I don't
always
know.
have a list of things they can add. Please change this. Please allow us to, you know, change recording resolutions in the camera app. These are things I want, but we still aren't getting them.
Yeah.
Come on.
One
Yeah.
day we'll keep. Maybe that'll be in my iOS 13 concept in the very, very, very distant future.
That's the funny thing is like year after year, you could watch iOS 10 wish list, iOS 11 wish list, iOS wish list, and they're all the same thing.
Yeah. Dark
They
mode,
don't.
better volume indicator. Like, I
Yeah.
don't get it. Like, I also feel like these changes are dark mode more complicated than the volume indicator, but like, just put like a team of 5 engineers, like give them a week to just implement it. Literally just change. They already have a different one built into the video player, and the fact that they do not have one on
Yeah.
it hurts because like it's there,
Uh,
and other third party apps have added it inside of them,
I
and
know.
it's terrible.
Instagram and YouTube, they
It
can
looks
build
so
this,
good.
and yet Apple can't. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, it's kind of like dark mode. You know, there's so many apps that have like a night mode now. Like Twitter has like a dark interface, and
yeah,
like the dark interface. Maybe like everyone else will just have one by the time Apple actually
yeah,
makes.
yeah. Instead of there being a system wide, it's just going to be literally every single app, but Apple's are going to have a dark mode by the time we get it. I would not be surprised. Apple just like I don't know how bad, like I can't explain how badly I want to just like go to Apple's headquarters and just have a
Mm.
conversation with their engineers and be like,
Oh,
you
dude.
know we want these. Give us your perspective. Like give us the thought process why you did this feature over this feature, why it took 5 years for group notification. Like I just want to have this conversation so we know.
Right. Just a justification. Like if I ever got an interview with Tim Cook, I
Oh,
wouldn't worry about the next interview. I'd be like, I don't care if I ask questions and they're like, okay, never talk to him again. I would just have a list of questions that
oh
would be
yeah.
like be like, like, so Tim, when I changed my volume on my Apple TV, the indicator's up in the corner, right? He's like, yeah. And he's like, why not put it in the middle of the screen? Why not put it right dead center in the front of the content? And hopefully he'd say something like, because that would get in the way of your content. And I'd be like, so that's interesting. Yeah.
Those
It would
leading questions.
be my issue with Tim Cook ever, but I would just love to see his reactions and stuff.
Yeah, gosh, I've not talked about this either, but this is an interesting tidbit. I have reached out to Apple PR for a comment on a myriad of topics. Called
Oh,
them,
cool.
emailed
Uh-huh.
them, and in probably 10 to 15 different reaching out to them, I have gotten one email back, and that was 4 years
Oh,
ago.
oh, dang. Wow. So yeah, that's not easy, I guess. Yeah, that's tough.
Have you ever tried to like reach out and talk to them?
No, not really. I've really just kind of, it feels like a scam, but I've had a lot of people be like, my dad works for Apple. This is happening. And I almost never believe it, but that's
Oh
about
yeah.
as far as I maybe one of them was real, but so far it's all been just people wanting clicks, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
no, I've never really attempted to reach out just because I think I know they would, like, even me, the Apple sheep, like there's much bigger channels out there that they reach out to, and I just feel like I'm always going to be the smaller channel. I'm never going to be up top, and they'll probably just think I'm too weird or too drastic or too aggressive. Like if we sponsored this guy, no one would believe what he says anyway. So like why bother? He's going to buy our stuff anyway.
We've got
They
them
want
trapped.
stuff people who don't like them, you know. They want to persuade people.
Yeah, that's really funny. Somebody just said in the chat that they have like Federighi and Tim Cook's emails, which for everybody like in the chat, it's literally just like I think it's like Federighi at apple.com and then tcook at apple.com, and
Right. I
you
don't
can
think
send them an
that.
email.
Yeah, they're not like top secret emails either, but they're pretty easy to find
Uh-huh.
from what I've heard. I know lots of people email them, which is, again, it's like, why try? It's like when I'm watching a live stream full of like thousands of people,
Yeah,
I don't really in the chat. I'm like, they're not going to see anything. Like, why, why even bother? But I don't know. Who knows? I'd love to be contacted by someone someday, but
yeah, I know.
I won't hold my breath.
I'm waiting on that sweet email that says you're invited to Apple's next special event, and I'd be like,
Right.
oh my god! I would definitely
That,
throw a party for myself.
right. Yeah. There's people asking about the Vivo Nex in the chat. Have you followed that at all?
Is that the phone that has like practically no bezel, but the little chin at
Mm,
the bottom?
practically. Like the future concept. It's the one with the pop-up camera.
Let me Google it really quick. Vivo
They
Nex.
made a concept one, and then now they have a consumer one. So yeah, I've not been too interested because usually Vivo is like really popular about one feature, and then everything else sucks.
Yeah, yeah,
Which is why a lot of people ask about it. They're like, this. People will tag me with the Vivo Nex and say like, see, this is some Apple couldn't figure this out. It has a fingerprint reader. Like Samsung, they couldn't figure this out. Vivo did it first, and I'm like, no one's gonna buy that. It's not about being first to a device, to a innovation. That's never
mhm,
been what it's about. Like it's all about making the most well-rounded device, and Vivo's typically like pouring all their money into one feature and then compromising on all the rest of the features, and it results in a phone that not everyone really wants, but it definitely gets a lot of media attention. So
yeah,
I'm not I'm not too interested in it.
yeah. I
Touch
mean,
ID doesn't.
it looks good.
It is a phone, It's like I guess it exists. Yeah, I wasn't curious. I didn't know if you made videos about it, but
No, I
a
have
lot of
not.
people ask. And I'm just guys, this Vivo does this because they know they're gonna get clicks. It's not even really because it's gonna sell. Like people just don't really buy into that.
Yeah, I agree. Somebody's asking, oh, I saw you made a video on this, but I'll be honest, I did not click on the video and I haven't explored the articles fully. Apple's over-the-ear headphones, like the ultra premium ones that I read a little bit about.
Like, I was thinking maybe they'd be called Pro Pods or something.
That's a good idea. I like that name.
I would definitely buy them if they made them. I'm curious because whatever team is dedicated to sound quality between AirPods and HomePods, I know we all have different personal tastes for sound, but whatever those guys do, I'm really into. Like they get my taste down. So if they made a pair of AirPods, I would heavily consider that. I'd like to see if they could make them like wirelessly charge, or of course have the W1 chip and everything, but have like a pretty good battery. Like I would love to try those, but again, I don't know when they'd be coming out, but still, I would love to try them if they made them.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I would be interested in looking at, and I'm sure I would try. But I also I don't know how I feel about talking about audio, because it's very tricky and everybody likes something different, and like it's just really hard. I have a really hard time describing a sound. Like this sounds high, or lows are good, or like it feels very weird. It's just like I feel like what I could say in a 10-minute video, I could just let someone listen to the speaker for 30 seconds and they'd be like, oh, okay, got it. Like,
right. It's like describe the color red.
Yeah.
Just never seen the color red.
Yeah. You can't. You can't do it.
No, there's not really a way to do it. So yeah. I'm very curious, but this year has been so sad for hardware so far. Like there's nothing that has happened, so I'm like keeping all expectations low. More recently, I've been kind of like trying to focus on a lot of my other channels lately, just because I'm like, I kind of want to just focus on tech when I really have something interesting to say. That's why sometimes there won't be a tech video on a certain day. I'm trying to keep it interesting, but I'm also just trying not to milk nothing. Yeah. It's like nothing really to talk about, but I'm going to elaborate on something for 10 minutes. It's getting tricky.
Yeah, I feel you there. Sometimes when news is slow, it's very, well, there's not much to talk about, but there's this one report that's mildly interesting. So let's just go ahead and make a video about that.
Right. We'll see what sometimes I'll just start the camera and see what I can think of.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, I won't even like know if I have a whole video to talk about. I'll just hit record and I'll be like, maybe I'll just think of something while we're recording. Sometimes that pressure, knowing like, you're using up file storage, you're using up space, you're using up electricity, like that pressure can get you to start thinking deeper about these subjects. And any possible idea your mind will grasp and then elaborate on, and that's kind of where a lot of my info comes from. Yeah,
that's actually a really interesting strategy. I've never tried that. I usually just actually make notes on my phone. It's not a bad idea. I mean, that's a really good, like, here I have notes pulled up from my last video. It's literally just like this KGI. I have my sources here. Like I'll have everything written down, and it's like bullet points, and that just works really well because I'll like read it. I'm like, all right, this is from Mac Rumors. All right, so we got the prices, and then you just get into it. And there's a lot of information though sometimes. Like I think a fact, I don't know how your videos are, but I know for mine, to get a 10-minute video, I generally record for 40.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot. So you cut out a bunch.
Oh yeah, there's just a lot of me, like there's so much information, like rather than, like less than my opinion, or more information than my opinion. So it'll be constantly like, oh, I said 700 instead of 800. Oh, I said iPhone 10 Plus instead of second gen iPhone 10. So there's just so much that I have to go back and do. Yeah,
mine definitely isn't that drastic of a cut. I've probably gotten very used to like improvisation and just kind of like on the spot kind of stuff, because typically for me it's like half, like a 20-minute video raw recording will end up being a 10-minute video. Okay. Sometimes if I'm really passionate about the topic, I'll leave a lot of it in. Sometimes I could record like 12 minutes raw in the video's 8 minutes. Like
Okay, that's
that's
good.
it depends, but yeah, like your videos are more likely much more thought out though, which is probably better, and probably better from a factual point of view. But I guess like my audience is just used to me rambling about my personal thoughts, not so much about the information, which is likely why that's probably worked out better for me in the long run.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's interesting though. I didn't think to ask about it, but it's interesting to hear the different raw recordings versus finished products. I'd be curious to hear more people's
Yeah.
comparisons on there.
Yeah, and like you
Yeah,
said, like it depends because when you're really like, there's some videos where it will be like 50% for me, or even like six. I think I got like
yeah,
2/3 once or twice, but so much
yeah,
of the time it'll just be like it's just an off day sometimes. You just can't get the words out, or you can't talk, and it's like it's not necessarily your own fault. It's just the information's weird, or what you're talking about, you're not
yeah,
that passionate about it, or not as passionate as people want you to be. So you have to like I don't know. It's this weird dynamic sometimes that you have to get used to and overcome. But that's
yeah.
just part of the job.
That is weird, right? Huh. Yeah, I guess a lot of people don't think that either. A lot of the fans, even in the chat, they're not even sure. They were like, "Oh, really? That much? Cut
Yeah.
out that much?" Yeah, it's like uh, I don't even think I can record for 40 minutes. I think I'd have to my CPAS cards would fill up.
Yeah, when it's a really bad day, like my where I'm sitting as well, this is also something that you can't see on camera, but I'm recording in the second story of a house, so hot air rises. And
Yeah,
sometimes when the summer heat's beating down, like it will get like 80 degrees in this room. And then when I'm like spewing out words and then I get hot, I'm just like I start sweating and then I get distracted by that. And then it
right.
just like it compounds and compounds and makes it more challenging. And like I've had videos where I'll record for 52 minutes, like insane, and I'll get like
Yeah,
maybe 8 minutes, and it's like that's just a bad day. That's just a
yeah.
bad day for recording.
Dude, the heat has been horrible. It's really expensive, but we actually just kicked on our AC yesterday, just
Oh my
just
god!
because like it's so bad. Yeah, it got like I think 89 in here. While
Wow.
like it gets so hot in here, and we point the fans at us as much as possible, but then it'll be like, "All right, Drew, it's time to record a podcast," and I'm like, I can't leave the fan on. I'm like, yeah, I've got to sit here and roast basically. Luckily, I've got the fan on low pointed at me, so it feels pretty good right now. But yeah, sometimes when doing podcasts and stuff, it gets bad. It gets really bad.
Yeah, I feel
Kind of
you.
let's film this really fast. Let's get this.
Yeah, I know that feeling all too well. I've got one fan on right now, but there's a vent on the
Mm.
floor that like pushes more air up here that I have turned off, and another fan that I had to turn off so it's not loud.
Right.
All
I
right,
feel
let
it.
me find one or two more questions and then we'll wrap up.
Okay.
Um, Tell me if you
What?
see any other.
There's videos I'm gonna make about the Pixel. Don't worry about that. there's there's talks actually that Google is working on optimizing the Pixel Book so that it can run Windows. Yeah, I have some thoughts about that. So expect that in the near future.
That's so weird.
Oh,
Somebody said, "Oh, do you think Apple will ever make a TV? And if so, would you buy it?" I have to see the TV first, of course.
yeah, like knowing Apple, if they made just a TV, I feel like it would be like 4 grand, and
Yeah.
I don't have much personal preference when it comes to just like monitor itself, and I think that's why they go the Apple TV box route because it's a
Mm,
lot easier. Like if you announce a new TV, not everyone's now going to just replace their TV. That's a
yeah.
big choice, it's a big investment. But buying the little $150 box, that's a lot more doable. People can do that, plug it
Mm,
into their TV. Whereas if Apple made a giant 60-inch TV, 4K, 5K, whatever it is, not that many people I think would get it because they're like, oh, my TV's like that. That's a big request
it
for a
is. It
lot of.
really is.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess probably wouldn't buy it if they made it, but maybe to review and then to return. But I don't know. I imagine it wouldn't be cheap.
Yeah, I could not see. if it was a 4K like 50-inch panel, they would be charging 2-3 grand. I mean, it'd be an expensive purchase that a lot of people just aren't ready for.
Right. We've got a 55-inch 4K TV from Walmart that was like $400, and I'm like, that's fine. It's like perfect. I plugged my Apple TV 4K into it, and it works. I like it. You know, no complaints. If Apple was like, well, this one is by us, I'd be like, okay.
Cool.
It wouldn't be worth it to be. I wouldn't watch TV any differently.
Let's see. I'm gonna find one more question. One more question. Send us some questions for the last one. Let's see if we can get any good ones.
Okay.
We got an okay. Ooh, yeah, let's do it. I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
And I told somebody, I was like, yo, I've got this idea. We should do it. And then it was like, yeah, we'll have to see. That'd be really cool.
How would we do that? Would we like both? Yeah, I don't know. It'd be tricky. But it'd be funny if we both did it at the same time.
Yeah.
It'd be close. You're obviously going to get yours before me, but it'll be
probably by like one day.
But I think you're running the lead, dude.
You know what I hope? I really hope that somehow you get like 1,000 subs overnight and beat me. or like I somehow manage to pass you, or like stay whatever, like somehow manage to beat you, and then you get your play button before me. I would think that'd be the funniest thing ever. Because it's like, who's the real winner then? Like, not me.
Yeah, like I guess YouTube HQ is closer, if that has any.
Yeah, that is.
Maybe.
It's probably only like, actually, I don't know how far away it is from where you live.
Yeah, I'm sure it's within a day's travel, but no, on YouTube it'll probably take 2 months.
Weeks.
But yeah, probably more than 2 months. But still, it's just funny that such similar channels are growing at almost identical rates. I love it.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay. We got some questions.
Oh man.
Yeah, they were pretty for sure at the Apple keynote that they are not merging iOS and macOS.
Yeah.
I usually like that.
I was surprised that they talked about that I was surprised that they even really brought it up, because usually they don't talk about speculation or rumors ever.
Right. And it's very rare that during a keynote they're like, that will not happen. Stop asking about it. Like that's not common.
Yeah, I agree. It felt a little bit out of place.
Yeah. Well, it just goes to show you, like, guys, don't ask about that. I don't think it's happening. It'd be very odd if they then released something like that after the fact.
Yeah, I agree. Like next year they're gonna be like, we're merging both things.
Right.
We changed our mind. We were kidding.
That was a joke. That was all a joke. Same with AirPower. That's not happening. That was a joke.
Oh my gosh. It's never going to come out. It's almost been a year.
Abandon all hope. Just abandon it. Yeah. It's gone. This is like the closest I think we'll get to AirPower. It looks very similar.
Yeah. That's the magnetic charging thing, right? For the Apple Watch?
See.
Oh, I saw some.
Yeah. Here. If he's spending $50. So I wanted to talk about Pixel really quick.
Go for it.
I want to talk about how brilliant it is that they used AI to make such a great camera. And I think Google did a great job handling AI in a single lens camera. And I'm very excited to see how they're going to handle another single lens camera with Pixel 3. I bet it'll outscore the Huawei P20 Pro.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Google is actually, I think the Pixel 2 has one of the best cameras.
Now Isaac owes you $50.
Thank you.
He bit it. eBay50. So pay up.
Yeah, send that $50 super chat straight to 123 iupdateos drive, please. All right. Okay, this will be a good one to end it on. From Ted the Bear, how much do you guys think the iPhone 10 Plus and iPad X may cost? You go first.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and expect the worst. I'm gonna round up.
Okay.
I think the iPhone 10 Plus is gonna start 64 gigs at $1,100, or as Apple will put it, $1,099, and the 256 gig version will be like the first iPhone. The first iPhone to start the range up to like $1,300. It'll be crazy expensive. Everyone's gonna be like, no one's gonna buy that. That's too expensive. But then it'll sell. And then iPad Pro 10, I imagine it's got to cost more than the current iPad Pro. So I'm gonna guess they may start at 700 or 800. I guess they start at 700. So I'd say like the 10.5-inch one might start at like 800 now, and then the large will start at like 900 to 950. Those are my price predictions.
All right, I'm gonna say for iPhone 10 Plus, I'm gonna go $999. I'm gonna go with what the rumors are suggesting right now. I can see them bringing it down a little bit, even though I'm not 100. Like I'm not super confident in this. Like you said, like rounding up is always the safest option with Apple. And then for the iPad 10, I'm saying iPad X. For the iPad 10, I think you're right on. I think $699 would be starting for the 10.5-inch model. Or $599 would be incredible, but I don't see them doing that. And then I could see maybe, how much is there a big price difference between the 10.5 and 12.9 inch now? Is it like $100 or is it like $150 or $200?
Yeah, I thought it was $100, but that I may be wrong. I haven't checked it. I'll look quick. I've got the website open here.
So I would say either $849 or $899 for the 12.9 bezel-less.
Yeah, so the 10.5-inch iPad Pro starts at $649.
Oh, okay.
And then the 12.9 inch starts at $799. So yeah, there's a $150 price difference between the two. Okay. And they actually have 3 storage options. They can go up to, dang, I didn't realize they could go up to $1,150.
Wow,
that's crazy.
For 512.
Well, $1,280 if you get Wi-Fi and cellular. Like that's a crazy good iPad, but dang,
that's a lot of money.
$1,280 for an iPad Pro. That's pretty crazy. I don't think I would do that.
Yeah, no, I don't think I could either. That is absurd.
I can never justify cellular iPads. I'm always like, just use the like. Do you ever take your iPad somewhere without your phone?
Yeah,
you need cellular. I don't. It's just me.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. Like the phone does it really well, and I guess it'd be cool, but I would never pay more on top of my cell phone plan to get the same functionality that can't like do it the other way around. It seems weird, and I don't see a lot of people using it. I think in my lifetime, only like one friend has ever gotten a cellular. It seems weird that they still make them.
I feel like they wouldn't sell well, but they must be if they keep making them.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
they have to.
Yeah. That's weird.
Yeah.
I don't get someone who'd pay that much for an iPad. That's money.
Yeah.
For an iOS device.
Who knows? We're already paying $1,000 for our smartphones.
Yeah, that's true. Those have a lot more in them, but yeah. Okay.
Drew, thanks for coming. This was great.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. This has been fun. I hope we can do this more often. This was cool.
Yeah, this was really sweet. Thanks to everybody for watching. Of course, check out Drew's channel on YouTube. Just search Tailosive Tech, Tailosive. You'll find his stuff.
Thank you.
It's really great. He makes great videos. If you love Apple, you'll love Drew's channel because he's a big Apple fan. We could say he's a big Apple fan.
That's safe to say.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming in.
Good night, everyone. See you back.
See you later.